Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Good. And then we have Andy Goodbread. How you doing, man?
Good, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
I'm glad to have you on. Excited to talk about your journey, fitness journey, and everything else you have going on as an athlete. But let's get started with some of the basics, what you do for a living, and how you train, and where are you from? I think that's important that I've been leaving out a lot lately.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So Andy Goodbread. So I'm from Northeast Pennsylvania, so about 2 hours north of Philadelphia. Been married to my college sweetheart for 10 years. We have 3 little boys, 7, 5, and almost 3. So we're chasing a lot of the time. And I'm a family doc. So I'm primarily a primary care physician with a couple of twists. So the first is that I'm the assistant director of one of our family medicine residency programs. So teaching and seeing patients at the same time. And then also have a board certification in lifestyle medicine. So this, I think, will be right in line with a lot of the stuff that we do with GGA, which is the concept of preventing and treating chronic illness with all of the things of the EO3 elements, right? So looking at things like nutrition, exercise, stress reduction, sleep, et cetera. So yeah, that's really meshed well with the stuff we do through GGA. And then in terms of how I train, so I'm a basement guy. So a couple of reasons. First is that we don't have a garage, which makes precludes the use of a garage for exercise. And secondly is requirement. Yeah, I mean, having one, I feel like, is part of the gig. The second is that I really appreciate the temperature control thing that a bunch of people have brought up. So it can get a little nippy in Northeast Pennsylvania in the wintertime, and I'm not trying to thaw out my barbell with a space heater. And in the summertime, it helps to keep it cool. So I'm a basement guy. And I pair our training with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and then just random outdoor stuff with my kids.
I think very ideally, cool. I would love a walkout basement for a gym. 9-foot ceilings, 8-foot ceilings, walkout basement, run right out there. It's the dream.
That's what I had in North Carolina, man.
I know. It didn't work.
Ditched it. Cool. All right, man. Well, I want to know a little bit more about your basement setup. What's in there?
Sure. So this is the part where I did take some notes because I'm sure to forget some stuff. So I've got one of the Titan short squat racks. So our basement does not have 9-foot ceilings. I don't have to crouch to do stuff, but I have a little bit of trouble with overhead. So got one of the short racks, got about 400 pounds of bumper and iron weights combined. A couple of barbells, both bought aftermarket, which is nice. I have a hex bar, several kettlebells. I've got the Bowflex adjustable dumbbells. I have a spin bike, a rower that is not a Concept 2. Stay tuned for later. I've got a med ball, some rings, and an assortment of resistance bands.
You got the full setup. Sounds like you can do everything. That's awesome. And so what was the big reason in building out a basement gym?
Yeah, so for me, it was time, with being in medicine, it kind of evolved through the course of residency that with a month-by-month schedule that changed a lot, it was unclear whether I was going to get there in the morning to a Globo gym, in the afternoon to a hospital gym, et cetera. And so for me, it just made sense, particularly once we started having kids as well, that having fewer excuses not to train was going to take the form of having a setup in my basement. So I bought a weight set for my brother, and then over time it evolved into a decent little pain cave down in the basement. So for me, it's mostly time and ability to get there pretty quick.
And what time of day do you typically train?
So I'm a morning guy now. So now that I have a little bit more control of my schedule, I'll get up nice and early so that my workouts only affect me and not affect an evening time with family. Get my workout done, get ready for work, and then get after it. So nice thing about the timing is that like this time of year, I'm running as the sun comes up if we have running built into our workout. So that morning start really works well for me.
That's awesome. And you sound like my kind of doc, just with like your background, everything you gave me. Like, what's your? I'm sure that it's all related, but what's your main goal in your fitness routine?
Sure. So, a couple things. Yeah. So, one of them is just trying to dodge some genetic bullets. So, early heart disease in my family. So, physical fitness combined with all the other aspects of the elements plays a big role there. And then from a very hard objective goal for me right now, it's trying to get all my upper body lifts into that competitor range. So my lower body lifts have been pretty solid for a while. I'm a recovering football player, so the lower body stuff's in pretty decent shape, but my upper body stuff faltered through some injuries over time, and really would like to try to get those up into the competitor range over the next few cycles.
That's a very admirable goal, and I think that it's definitely doable. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about, just your view as a doctor, and this is kind of going off what we typically talk about, but it's your profession. Just, what you typically advise people on for, some basic healthy habits and maybe what you see or changes that you see when implementing some stuff. You can go take that really wherever you want because you're the professional here. And so I would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Nice. Well, my wife would say I just make this stuff up as I go along, but I appreciate you calling me a professional. So, for me, a lot of it is, what got me down this path of lifestyle medicine and incorporating it into our residency curriculum was realizing that we don't get nearly enough training during medical school, residency, et cetera, not only in what to recommend, but how to recommend it, right? So like, I think generally speaking, you could write down on a piece of paper the things that we know are pretty healthy, right? So eating right, probably not stressing too much, getting enough sleep, et cetera. But how do you work with folks in a way that makes it stick? Right. So it's understanding those principles of behavior change, right? Readiness for change, where on the change spectrum are you? And there's a whole bunch of models of how you can look at that stuff. And I'm teaching some of them tomorrow. So I've got them all rattling around in my brain. So for me, it's been figuring out what approach psychologically works for people, right? So particularly folks like a lot of us, I think, in the group who are very on, right? We're the folks who are really focused on things like nutrition, exercise, et cetera, is we may be the folks who need to put the most emphasis on the things like stress management, getting enough sleep, avoidance of risky substances, to quote the recent podcast you guys did with alcohol and training. So I think individualizing the approach both from the standpoint of what does this individual need to be working on, but then also how do you leverage the relationship that you have with them into knowing how you're going to have to approach them to help them make those changes. Is what I'm saying making sense to you guys?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I would love to dive into one of those just a little bit more. You said people who kind of, basically have some of this stuff dialed in, they might need to focus something more on something like stress management. Do you have any tips or recommendations that you typically give people for trying to better manage stress?
So of course, there's a bunch. I think the one that probably holds the most water for the widest group of people that I've seen so far is the concept of mindfulness, right? So I think a lot of folks, because, number one, it doesn't rely on being a member of a particular faith, right? So like, I'm a Christian guy, but that doesn't mean that everybody has to be able to manage their stress. So mindfulness is pretty cool because not only is it pretty broadly applicable, but it doesn't have to mean sitting in a yoga pose for an hour and thinking of nothing, right? Because that to me is a form of torture that I'm not willing to place on myself, right? So what I think is neat is you could say, all right, mindfully eat your lunch, right? Because then what that just makes you do is really pay attention to the thing that you're doing, being present in the moment. And when you do that, you can quiet your monkey brain a little bit, right? So my head isn't spinning about the other thousand things I have to do, and it's almost like that right hand button on the Sega Genesis, where it's the reset button on the spinning thoughts that are flying through our minds. So that I've found can be a really nice approach to stress management for people. So there are some apps that I won't quote because I don't have financial relationships, but there's some pretty cool mechanisms for incorporating mindfulness into daily life.
Very cool. Now tell me a little bit more about your fitness journey. You mentioned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, recovering football player. How did you go from wherever you started to now, garage gym athlete training?
Yeah. So kind of grew up playing a bunch of sports. By high school, it was just football, and played a couple years in college as well. And for me, the training aspect of that was very sports specific, and the teams that I was a member of never placed a huge focus on the off-season weight room and how that translated to the field. So for me, when I stopped playing football, a lot of the structure to my training went away, and I was just looking for something to not do the post-football weight gain that I had seen in my family and in some of my teammates. And so that pretty quickly became pickup sports like soccer and rugby, because when you stop playing football because of injuries, rugby is a smart sport to take up. But I never said I was brilliant. For me, it again, pickup sports and then running. So over the course of the end of college and then into medical school, running was nice because you didn't need any teammates and you could do it any hour of the day. So endurance became the focus of my training with some body weight exercise. And then during residency, I ran my first half marathon. And that same year, I started training jiu-jitsu, and I realized, man, I can roll jiu-jitsu for an hour, but my strength isn't nearly where I want it to be. So I wanted to swing back towards the middle. And so I started doing starting strength, which was nice, but talk about swinging the pendulum back the other way, right? Is my barbell lifts went up, but my endurance started to flag. So that's when I stumbled upon all you guys on the internet and realized that, I can tune my training to whatever my goal is for this next 12 weeks, next 12 years, next forever. Right. And so that's what really hooked me.
Awesome. And how do you like training in your basement?
It's awesome for kind of the reasons that a bunch of people have mentioned, is the fact that I can have just one fewer excuse not to train when it's, 0 dark 30 and it's like, well, I got 3 pages last night. Do I really want to? Yes, you do. Just get up. It's literally right downstairs. So the excuse thing is nice. The temperature thing is nice. Not having to worry about, do I smell to all high heavens to go to a Globo gym? Like, why am I showering to go to the gym? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I love it.
It's awesome, man. All right. What's the hardest workout you've ever done?
Hardest workout I've ever done. So I've been through this a couple of times in my mind. I'm going to say it's the one that most nearly killed me. So last summer, my buddy drew me into doing a race with him. It's called Quadzilla, which probably should have been an indicator as to how it was going to go. So it has 9 significant. It's a trail race. It has 9 significant climbs with the emphasis on destroying your quads. And it was a week last year where the average daily high temps were in the mid 90s with the same percentage humidity, and it was nasty. I hadn't hydrated well that week. I had done a Spartan race the week before, and I was like 8.5 miles into this 9.5 mile race, and I couldn't stand up anymore. I was like looking for my keys on the ground as though I had dropped them. And turns out I had a pretty clear case of heat exhaustion or heat stroke, and a pretty nice little case of rhabdo, which I realized when I started peeing orange. So that was hard. And I think it was hard because it just physically sucked. And it was hard because it was a clear indicator that I had let my ego get the best of me. Right. Like, okay, I've got this 9.5 miles. I can handle this. Overhydration, I'll be okay. So it was a humbler for me for sure.
Sounds like a brutal one.
Yeah, it did. It was not awesome.
It's normally like heat exhaustion or rhabdo, and you got both.
Yeah, it was
dehydration, not
best.
overhydration.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. In your opinion, what's the best activity for building mental toughness?
Yeah. So I think for me, like the physical stuff, like cold showers, etc. I think we get so used to tolerating pain that's like, that's not so much. So for me, it's picking something that I know is good for me, that is contrary to my nature, right? So like, I don't like to sit still. So I've had to decide that sitting still and either praying or doing some kind of mindfulness thing for 10 minutes a day was going to be something I really needed to commit to. And I've found that the mental toughness building of that has been huge, because again, it's something that's hard to do, but I know it's good for me. And sitting down to do it every night, I think probably makes me more mentally tough.
I like that one. All right. If you only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
It would be a kettlebell. So I'd have to go with probably like a 50 or 60 pound kettlebell. Because again, like it's been brought up before, you can do conditioning stuff, you can do strength stuff. Yeah, I love it. So that would, I hate to buck the barbell trend, but it would be a kettlebell for me.
No, I like the kettlebell. It's a good option.
So what's something that you would want to add to your gym?
So it's probably going to happen because I'm on the waiting list. I'd like to have a concept too. I like the fact that the distance metrics are a little bit more reliable. And I want to move the one that I currently have upstairs so my wife can use it when she's also within swatting distance of our children. So having a concept too is number one on the list for me right now.
Very nice.
And so what is the one that you have, the non-concept 2?
It's a Life Fitness, but it's one that I bought from a guy that I trained jiu-jitsu with. That again, the only real issue with it is the distance metrics are hard to compare to, like when you guys are posting workouts, it's hard to know that I'm anywhere close.
Yeah. Is it better or worse? Is it like, wow, I crushed it. Yeah.
I did a 45-second 500-meter row.
Yeah.
I'm the man. Captain America, look out.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, at least it's not the other way. I mean, the other way would be, it's like, am I really that bad? Yeah.
Well, no, because then he's going to get the concept too, and then he's going to seem like he's that bad because the distance are going to be way more. So it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, man. What is your best advice for all the garage gym athletes out there listening to this right now?
Something that's kept me going has been picking something outside of our training that's also a physical pursuit that helps to give a reason to train. So like there were definitely some mornings when I just started training jiu-jitsu, where the thing that got me out of bed to train consistently was, maybe I'll be a little bit less likely to get choked unconscious today if I get up and consistently train. So whether that's signing up for a race or wanting to do a 20-mile backpack with the kids, like having something outside of our training as part of the why has been really helpful for me, and I imagine it would probably be helpful for the rest of the crew as well.
Love it. All right, Andy, it's been a blast having you on, getting to hear a little bit more about your background and everything that you've shared with us today, from stress management to healthy living. So I really do appreciate it. So thanks for sharing all that you did, and also thanks for being a garage gym athlete.
Yeah, well, thanks for the awesome training. Thanks for the honor of having me on. And yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.